G'day, Mel James, James Buy Sell, Market in a Minute, and it's a couple of days after Easter. How are you all feeling? I must admit, I feel a lot better now than I did a couple of weeks ago. On the variety of fronts, on the macro side of things, I feel okay. It feels like we're going to be under control. On the micro side of things, I suppose like we all have, I've got a little bit used to dealing with a little bit of fear. We've started up the mountain, we're halfway up the mountain, we're focused on our journey. How do you feel? Today I thought I'd sort of come in and discuss the market, the property market from a macro point of view and also from a micro point of view. So what's actually happening in the market now it's a couple of days after Easter? Well, for a start, demand, meaning from buyers, is basically, it's not non-existent, but it's very, very cool. Yes, there's plenty of people who are willing to talk about property, and there's probably a few people willing to go and have a look at a property, but there's a big, they're not buyers, they're lookers. Buyers are people that actually buy properties, and in our opinion, there's a lot less now than what there were a month ago. Supply is actually, compared to buyers, supply is actually quite strong at the moment. To give you an example, since April 1, we've looked at a bit over 200 properties electronically or virtually or digitally, whatever the right word is to say. They were on the net. As well as that, there was about 40 properties that were off market. That's a bit unusual. I thought it'd be actually a bit less in terms of properties that are being advertised and a bit more in terms of off market. But no, at the moment, there's definitely more advertised on the net than what there are off markets, but that may well change. Nonetheless, supply is quite good. What's actually happening to price? Well, by logic, on the demand and supply, price is going here. Price is there. Price is definitely decreasing on all bar the absolute top quality properties, and to be frank, it's probably even decreasing a little bit on then. Because why? Well, because there's probably not 3 buyers on that property anymore, there's probably only 1. So from a macro point of view, that's what we're seeing currently in the market. What does this actually look like? Well, just bear with me as I take these off. This is how the market's actually operated in probably since Christmas. So before Christmas and just after Christmas, we were going up like that. There was a little bit of volatility, but we're basically on the way up. Then we had the first big sort of worries about coronavirus, and it just became a little bit more volatile like that. Then we had the stages brought in, like the no pubs, no clubs, and the market basically went down straight away like that. It then started to limp along a little bit as there was a fair bit of mopping up. This is for a couple of weeks before Easter. And then just on Good Friday, when there was another announcement that we weren't going to be able to do open for inspections, that's where I felt the market went in a matter of, well, an hour. However, that was reversed a couple of days later. So on the Easter Monday, this just gone, that has been reversed. And now I think we're back to this is where we're at. Why do I say that? In the 2 weeks that we paused before Easter, because we'd had a very strong February, a very strong March, and there were a lot of talk about coronavirus and things like that, and we didn't really know what to do. We didn't know what advice to give, so we decided to pause for 2 weeks. During that time, we had 1 inquiry, and it wasn't really an inquiry that we could act upon anyway. However, yesterday, I had 3 quite solid inquiries. Normally, in a good week, this time we would be expecting 5 to 10. But 3 is better than none. It certainly gave hope to us. That's where we currently think the market is. Where do we think the market's going to be in the future? I'm hearing talks about things like this. Are we going to be in a V shape, or are we going to be in a U shape? This is what happened in the GFC, and this is like the 1990s. For those that are that old, and unfortunately I am. In the GFC, we had a big dip in 2008, but we actually came out of it very, very quickly. We came out of it better than anywhere else in the world. That was basically due to the Asian market influence. There was a lot of people from China coming to buy properties in 2009, and consequently, we just zoomed back up very quickly. As opposed to the 1990s, this is sort of 1989, 1990, the market just fell in a hole. Remember huge interest rates and things like that? The market fell in a hole, and it took most of the 1990s, well, certainly up to 96, 97, before we started to see any real improvement. Why the difference? Well, here the difference was there was no overseas market to pull us out. The market is a lot more internationalised now than what it was 30 years ago. So where are we going to be? What's going to happen? I think there's seemingly a bit of a feel that this is the way the market's going to be for quite some time. We're going to be in one of these long, slow, gradual situations simply because of border closings. It's not going to be that easy for America, for the UK, for China, for buyers to come from there and get into Australia to view the homes and put their money there. However, we're certainly in a lot better position as far as an international company, an international country goes now than what we were in the 1990s. One little word of warning on predictions, that we're going to be here for quite some time like this, or we're going to get even worse. Let's just think of how the predictions have gone for the last 3 years. Here's 2018, 2019, and 2020. Did not the vast majority of people, if not 100%, think that the market was going to be going up in 2018? Where did it actually go? It went down. In 2019, did not most people think that the market was going to continue on going down? And what happened? It went up, certainly after the election. And in 2020, weren't most pundits thinking that the market was going to get stronger and stronger? And what's happening? Well, the market's actually going down. And you go, oh, but Mel, it's the virus, it's unusual. Hold on, oh, it's the election, but oh, it's unusual. Oh, but it's whatever here. This is the nature of predictions, is that the majority of us seem to get it wrong most of the time. That's the macro side of things. That's what it actually looks like. What's going to happen from the micro point of view? In other words, in individual transactions. If you're looking to buy and sell, if you're looking to upsize, if you're looking to downsize, if you're looking just to sell, or if you're just looking to buy. Where are you in this current market post-Easter? In a buy-sell situation, a lot of people will be worried about the sell and be going, oh, I'm going to get less, I'm going to get less. But if you're actually going to buy something as well, especially of a similar nature, the buy or less shouldn't worry you. The sell or less shouldn't worry you, because it's basically going to equal out to you. In a buy-sell situation, if you're buying and selling roughly the same, it doesn't matter what market you're in. That really is a true myth. Upsizing. If you're upsizing in this current market, this is actually positive. In other words, if you've got a $1 million property and you're looking to buy a $3 million property, this market is far better for you than what it was last year. On the proviso, of course, that you can find the home, and on the proviso that you'll want to do it. Why? Well, because the properties are going to be dropping at the higher level. Yours will drop a little bit, but nowhere near as much. And so the gap, this particular gap, is a lot less than what it was before. So this market will actually help people who are wanting to upsize. On the other side, if you're looking to downsize, well, this is not a positive market, because that's your superannuation, that's your balancing, that's your money in your pocket that you were going to get 2 months ago, supposedly. But now, with the market changing, especially if it continues to fall a little bit, that gap is going to be a lot less. Remember, that gap was good there, but it's not so good there. For downsizers, this market certainly will be hurting you a little. For selling only, in other words, you're just selling because you're just selling. You're not even sure why you're doing. This is not a good market. If you get less, I mean, I'm not a Rhodes Scholar or rocket scientist, but to me, that's not a positive thing. So if you're just selling and you don't have any really good reason or a better reason to use that money, this market is not a market to be selling in voluntarily. And I don't think that a lot of people are on the market currently at the moment are selling from a voluntarily point of view. Buying, Well, if there's no other reason other than you just want to buy a property, how could this not be a good market, assuming that you can find your house? Because this is what you might have got last year, but you're actually going to get a little bit more this year. You're going to have a bit more bang for your buck. If you've got cash, you're going to be in a strong position all the way through this year, providing you buy a good house. It's still back to decisions. It's still back to decisions, and this is what I'll finish on. If this is an A grader, okay, it may actually just struggle along like this for a little while, but in the longer term, when the borders do open up again, and the Chinese people do come back, and the Americans do come back, and the UK, the people from UK do come back and start buying, that is where the market's going to go. But instead, you've decided to save a couple of $100,000 and buy a B grader. Well, that'll probably just limp along like that. But that's where it's going to keep limping along. And so while that might have seemed to be a smart decision there, in the longer term, it's not going to be a smart decision. So we would still be encouraging you, no matter what the market is, to make sure that you're buying quality properties. Hopefully that's a bit of help. We'll see you again in a week or so. I'm Mel James.